let's get into this. Good. Excellent. Very good. All right. So this video is specifically about what Social Security recipients going into 2026 really can no longer afford. Now, just to give you kind of a backdrop, or at least before we go into the timeline, I just want to remind you, if you enjoy these videos and it gives you something to think about, please remember to like and subscribe. Head on over to Google, click in disability resolution, throw some stars up there. Also, if you have Medicare questions, basically the simple thing is I don't do Medicare. I recommend people go to Chapter 339-226-6287. They can answer questions about Medicare and kind of go through the details. So bottom line is I've sent a bunch of people over there. Try them out, see if you like. All right, let's get into it. 2021 was leading into 5.9% COLA for 2022. Prices began to accelerate. Why? Because we were beginning to have a COVID effect. Things were starting to get very expensive, but still, we had a unique situation. We were coming out of a Trump economy, which, to be fair, tends to obviously better than a Biden economy. And, you know, I know a lot of people are like, well, he didn't release this report, or he didn't do this thing, or da-da-da-da-da-da. Look, let's just be very straightforward. He is negotiating aggressively contracts with additional corporations and other countries to go ahead and give us the best potential outcome deal. With that said, the Supreme Court slapped him down and said, no, you can't do this. He came out and said, well, I'm going to do it this way instead. Does he come off as a mobster style gangster? Yeah. Do we kind of need that at the negotiation table? It's up to you. You decide. Next one, 2022 is a peak inflation year, 8.7% COLA leading into the 2023 market. Of course, Biden had been in for, at that point, the beginning of his second year. Gasoline was quite often 30 to 60% higher with year over year peaks. We had heating oil as a main issue where people couldn't afford it due to more extreme weather pressures, weather issues with the winter. And of course, eggs, meat, dairy, overall food was up sharply. And Medicare Part B premiums had a 14.5% increase, which, just ate into whatever people got as an extra amount for that year. Then you had the 2023, which of course had the 8.7% COLA applied, which they changed the COLA math. It's probably higher than that based off of the original COLA math. It's probably at similar level, if not worse than our good old peanut farmer president back in the day. But bottom line is this, he gets an 8.7% at that point. Eggs, super riser at that point. Prescription drugs, extremely expensive, outpaced general inflation. Heating oil and utilities, still going up. Volatility was happening. And then, of course, grocery stores, frozen orange juice, coffee, meats in general were very expensive. And then we get to 2024. The 3.2% COLA applies, moderating overall, but persistent senior burdens. So essentially, eggs still are a problem. Now it becomes difficult time with getting prescription drugs, doctor's visits, and a lot of people are using out-of-pocket options to try and gain some sort of cheaper financial option for medical treatment. And, to be fair, a lot of people can't afford the 80-20 rule on Medicare. It's just, they can't afford that. Of course, rent skyrocketed. Rent used to be like do I want a rent check or do I want a mortgage check? Well, you want a mortgage check almost always. Then the rent skyrocketed. And then, of course, the things to upkeep a house, which is, maintenance, etc., also became very expensive. And we get to 2025, 2.5% COLA. Slower adjustments were happening. We're starting to see basically a cooling effect. Healthcare services became more expensive, dental, vision, hearing, special senses, etc. Just a side note on that, just to be clear, I used to pay for Golden Rule, which was a nice health insurance program, but I just couldn't afford it anymore. It was going up to like $1,200. And so I got out of that. Now I'm on like one of those marketplace bronze programs, and I don't even have dental. So my local dentist actually has a pay thing, and my dental was getting to be like 120, 130 plus, and then was going to go up from there and be even higher. And it was a big chunk of increase. So I think it's 2 months of what my insurance would have been for dental is the amount I paid cash. I think it was card or cash at my local dentist, where now I'm covered through them for whatever I need. So obviously, for people in my age group, some things are cheaper, some things are not cheaper, etc. Now, with that said, prescription drugs kept getting higher. Part D changes help some, but obviously not everybody. Groceries, to be fair, insanely expensive. insanely expensive. And then, of course, the business grocery store, even more so expensive. Now, just to go through this, 2026, 22.8% COLA, slight uptick from the 2025s, which had the 22.5% area. We're seeing a slight inflation notion, which is coming through because they're doing all kinds of things to try and get the money lending under control. Healthcare services, Part B premiums rose significantly, about $17 to $21 a month for many, consuming 30 to 40% of the COLA increase that they were going to get. So basically, as you know, as a recipient, most of you know the game. You get a cost of living adjustment increase. Let's say it's, I don't know, $50, $60. And then pretty much all that's eaten up with just a couple of programs. And still there's other programs that went up that you can't afford to deal with. Now, just to kind of understand that, we are expecting with healthcare needs during that 2025-ish area, a 7.7% increase with stuff. So it's quite expensive. Utilities went up during that time period. Pipe gas service went up sharply, 10 to 11% in 2025 data, which obviously influences 2026. Electricity in general was a 6 to 7% increase. Food options, beverages, coffee, tea, non-alcoholic beverages, 5 to 11% increase in 2025. Your meats did go up. Your meats definitely went up. But bottom line was, there was a little bit of a cooling effect. It wasn't as bad as the very end of the Bidenomic period. Now, with that said, 2026 leading into it, 56-month on average retirement benefit increase through the cost of living adjustment. What are the things that Social Security recipients can really no longer afford, or they're just not spending money on it, or they're stretching it to make that dollar last a little longer? And I know some of you, you're on SSI, there's no money, or you're on SSDI and there's not much money. Some of you have an extra pension, a VA compensation, a this or that or this or that or that. So I get it. Everybody's in a different spot. But just to clear here real quick, the things that I've noticed people not spending as much money on are the upkeep items. So the replacement era is kind of coming into play. Air filters, oil changes, air filters in your home, air filters in your car. The things that are the replenishable items, I've noticed that people are slowing in their tendency to purchase those items to replace them. They're not getting their oil done as much. They're not getting the more expensive option as much, but it's these replaceable items in their daily activities of transportation and housing that really tend to be taking a bit of a hit. If you were planning to replace a water heater this year, you're not. If you're intending to replace some other appliance, right? Maybe a dishwasher, maybe a refrigerator that's kind of wonky, you're not. What I'm seeing as I look at what's happening with Social Security recipients is that we're entering a very dangerous area where people are now having items that normally would last a little bit longer with upkeep. And now, as a part of the financial strain that they have, those items are being strained and they're not lasting as long as they could or should. There's also another issue, which is that a lot of the products that we purchase online come from China and they're not made well. So something that might have a year warranty, about a year and 3 months into it, goes bad. Now, you may not remember, but there was an era where you could buy a pump and that pump would last 20 to 30 years, right? And then you would just rebuild it. There was an era where you'd have a refrigerator and they would just keep fixing it and keep fixing it and keep fixing it. There was an era where you'd have a washing machine and when it broke, somebody would come out and they'd fix the rollers, fix this, fix that. You wouldn't take the whole thing and throw it out. So what's happening is we're coming to this kind of crossroad where Americans don't have a dollar that's worth as much as it used to. And that's because it's going to take a little while to go ahead and fix a lot of the, Bidenomic policies. And Trump now has to spend more to make it make sense. So we're in this spot where the dollar is going through some tough times. And then on top of that, a lot of everything we have is now from China. And China is selling products that usually will fail within a short period of time. And that's because, to be fair, a lot of the things that Americans used to buy, they were built with some form of obsolescence into their scheduled existence, but nothing like this. We've never seen things failing at this rate. We've never seen things that, if you don't take care of them by doing this or that, they will fail at a very, very fast rate. And, I guess from my standpoint, the one thing that's really going to hurt a lot of the disabled and retired individuals on Social Security benefits is the fact that they can't buy healthy food anymore. You know what I mean? Like they can't, a lot of the food that they have to buy off-brand, not in its original form. A lot of food they have to buy is hyper processed, and you got to sit back and wonder, why the hell is hyper processed, chemical fed food so darn cheap? I mean, they have to do a lot more science, a lot more changes to the product to make that thing. Shouldn't the bare product, right? Fruit, vegetables, maybe some oats, maybe some wheat, whatever, corn, whatever. Shouldn't the bare product cost significantly less than these hyper processed foods? And to be fair as well, there's like 10 companies to 20 companies overall, but there's like 10 companies that control most of the food. In fact, it's really just like 4 or 5 of them. So my point is, at this, little transitional aspect of it, we unfortunately need to create laws that will force manufacturers to create products that will have a longer warranty. And I'm hoping that Trump will do this because it will have a very positive effect and outcome on the disabled and retired who don't have as much money to constantly be replacing. That's because a lot of this stuff, it should be repairable, and now it's not. So, Trump, if you're out there, I think one of the rules you should, work on is that products in certain categories should require, if they are built, to have essentially a warranty of so many years. And the reason I say this is that when you start to increase the warranty amount of time, you increase the likelihood that they built the product with not just cheap plastic parts, but metal parts or low wear parts, which means that you can go ahead and use it for an extended period and it's less likely to break. But as you've seen, we're seeing pumps break left and right. We're seeing, all kinds of gear related plastic joints break all the time. And what I would like to see, just to be very clear on this, is the retired and the disabled having their own version of a special, cheaper option, because they need their own version of food stamps and reductions and so on and so forth. I mean, the rest of the country does. But that is what I would like to see. All right. Attorney Walter Hnot here, the most viewed, subscribed to, and clicked on Disability Attorney in America. If you enjoy these videos and the ideas, please remember to like and subscribe. Also, if you have Medicare questions, give Chapter a call at 339-226-6287. I will catch you all a little bit later. And please remember to be nice to each other. I have to wake up, go work with the homeless tomorrow. But bottom line is, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will catch up in the not too distant future. Thank you so much. Attorney Walter Hnot. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.